Hey everyone, I have the one and only Pastor Mingo, a good friend of mine. He's been in ministry for a good little while. He's a man of God, a true man of God, and we want to talk about his testimony, the things that he has experienced in the ministry, his life, how God has blessed him, how God performed a miracle in his life, and he's somebody who I really look up to as far as a brother in the ministry. So, Pastor, tell everybody who you are. Let's go with your introduction first.
Well, first, I'd say thank you. Thank you, Reverend Gaither, for inviting me to come on to uh, speak with you concerning this. And to the listeners out there, yes, my name is Benny Mingo, Pastor Benny Mingo. I am the pastor of the Beaver Creek Baptist Church in Liberty Hill, South Carolina. I have been serving there as pastor for for 20 years. Just this past the first Sunday in September, just a couple of weeks ago, was 20 years of me being there serving in the capacity of pastor of Beaver Creek Baptist Church. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, Reverend Gaither, as he said, that I'm local, grew up in the Heath Springs area. Uh, Later moved to Columbia, South Carolina. We did about 27 years in Columbia, but now I'm back in Camden,
Mm,
South Carolina. And it's a pleasure to be a part of this podcast on tonight.
that's right.
Okay.
Glad to have you. Now, me and you, we spoke before, and one thing you told me about, you know, the miracle that happened. It's nothing but a miracle that happened in your life. Could you
Yes.
go into that a little bit and tell about your miracle that God had performed for you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, well, one, just life itself is a miracle.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that I'm here. But what Reverend Gaither is referring to, he and I had talked a little, it's a little while in the past, and I was sharing with him an experience that I had. As a matter of fact, we're coming up on 13 years now. 13 years ago, it was actually the November the 14th of 2012. I was there. I used to work in a company in Blythewood, South Carolina. And I was there in Blythewood in the company. I walked out of my office, walked out on the factory floor, and one of my coworkers stopped me and said, "Are you okay?"
Mm,
And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay. Just a little bit tired, but I feel like I'm okay." So I went on about doing what I had set out to do. And as I was walking back towards my office, it this pain hit me, and it you hear the saying, people who have maybe have experienced a heart attack, they say it feels like an elephant, sitting on your chest.
mhm,
To me, it felt much worse than that.
mhm.
Uh, it felt like not only was an elephant sitting on my chest, but it felt like something was trying to rip my chest and just rip it in half.
Wow.
And so another coworker seen me as I was struggling to get back to my desk, and they immediately called some first responders. We had some on-site first responders there at our plant, so they came and they started to examine me and immediately called 911 because they knew the signs and the symptoms of what they were looking at. And and it's kind of strange because I myself had served as a first responder for about 7 years.
Mm,
And and over that period of time, in part of our training, you get to um, recognize the signs and the symptoms of a heart attack. So I knew the signs. It was clear, but you always, have when it's happening to you, it just seems like it's a dream.
Hmm.
It seems like it's not, this can't be real. This can't be happening to me. And that was me. I had that mindset. This cannot be happening to me, but sometimes, God just lets us know when He breaks us down, that we none of us are above, uh, suffering and going through these trials, in our lives.
Yes, sir.
And so, anyway, they call. So the first responders, the outside first responders, the fire department got there, and they recognized, what was happening. My blood pressure at that point was through the roof, and I was literally on the verge of stroking out.
Mm.
So about 10 minutes after the fire department showed up, the EMS, they showed up. And the EMS, they immediately gave me the nitroglycerin pill, put it underneath my tongue as they was rapidly preparing me to transfer me to the hospital.
Yes, sir.
Uh, so they took me down to uh, Baptist Hospital in Columbia, and the cardiologist came in. He examined me, and he had this concerned look on his face,
Mm.
and they proceeded to run tests, and as they ran the tests through the night and even into the next morning, they were still running tests.
Mm.
And they made a decision early the next morning that they had to get me into surgery as quickly as possible.
Wow.
I didn't understand I say severity, of it at that time, just how bad it was. But I learned of it afterwards, you know. So I was suffering a heart attack,
Mm.
and so they immediately scheduled me for surgery the next day, and I had to undergo quadruple heart bypass. Um, and I learned afterwards, that my cardiologist, his entire team had come together, and he shared this with me. He shared it with me and my wife at that time, that I had 100% blockage in
Mm.
my arteries, 100%, and
That means no blood was flowing at all.
no blood.
Blood.
No blood. Well, here's the miracle to all of that. All the arteries that humans are normally born with.
Yeah.
My cardiologist said those were 100% blocked.
Mm.
But he said, and thank God, that some of our medical staff, our doctors now, that they understand that it goes beyond them. And I was so blessed to have my cardiologist believed in God. And he shared with me, and he said that uh, you were not born with these arteries. He took me and he showed me the X-rays. Now this was after the surgery, granted. He showed me some X-rays after the surgery, and he said, "I want you to take a look at this." And he pointed out the arteries that had grown, and he said those arteries was what was keeping me alive. He said because the arteries that I was born with, that was 100% blockage, and there was no way that I was getting any oxygenated blood, to the heart. But it was only by those new arteries that God allowed to grow inside of me.
Mm.
That's the only way that I was getting oxygenated blood to the heart. The entire staff, the cardiologist, the surgeon, and the cardiologist, they were shaking their heads, and they said, when I came in, he said they could not believe what they were seeing.
So,
Um,
so
yeah,
you had, I'm
yeah,
sorry, just to make sure, you had your arteries 100% blocked, but there
yeah,
was some new arteries that had grown and
yes.
that was keeping you alive.
That's the only thing that the cardiologist said. That's the only thing that was keeping me alive. That and the miracle of God
Oh wow.
who had allowed those arteries to grow in
Mm,
order to get blood and keep blood pumping and flowing to the heart. So again, it was nothing short of a miracle. Um, and
that's
while and going back and just thinking back on when I was taken into surgery, um, one thing that I could say that going into surgery, there was a peace,
mhm,
I had a peace of mind, you know, didn't know what the outcome was going to be, but I knew that God's will, I pray that his will shall be done.
yeah,
Um, and so God got me through, brought me through the surgery. Um, and, and as I shared with you before, is by man's standards, uh, for 45 minutes during the surgery, I had no heartbeat at all.
mm,
They had to chill my body in order to perform the surgery, to perform the quadruple bypass.
oh my God.
Um, and so they chilled my body down to the point where my heart was not beating at all.
Mm,
So for 45 minutes, if you will, I was a dead man, but God, I can only say,
yeah,
but God, the goodness of God um, who resurrected, Lazarus from the dead. I
mm,
see He did the same thing for me. So I can say today that I am a living testimony. I'm a walking, a live, breathing testimony. And I ask God, Lord, what is it, uh, that you have me to do, but it just wasn't, you wasn't ready for me, to come home at that time. And so, and as I stated, Reverend Gaither, here I am 13 years later,
mm,
still going strong and loving what I do, loving the Lord. I want to give myself, 100% to Him because, uh, he gave his best, he gave his all to me, and that I can even be here today to even testify,
yeah,
of his goodness, of his grace, and of his mercy. And so, and I ask, sometimes, when you go through things such as this, you ask the question, Lord, why, and what is to come of this, and
yeah,
God also let me know during this entire process that, sometimes the things that you go through isn't just for you, but
right.
it could be that others, it could be encouragement. It could be uh, that someone else may be going through something similar or may be faced with some things in life,
Yes,
and they can look at you and what you've done and look at, excuse me, not what you've done, but look what God did in your life, and that gives them hope,
yes, right.
and that gives them, encouragement that if God did it for Mingo, then he could do it for me,
Yeah,
because God tells us in his word that he's not a respecter of person, so what he do for one, he'll do for the other. And so I believe that many have gotten strength, many have received that much needed encouragement just by looking at what he's done for me and done in my life.
yes,
And
sir.
so,
That's an awesome testimony.
yeah,
That's awesome. So, did
yeah.
you have any symptoms before the incident happened? Before you had a heart attack?
No, the only thing I could say was, that day of, when I was leaving my desk and going out to the floor to check on some things, I did feel but it just felt like I was, I was just tired,
Mm,
not to the point where I couldn't go on, but I just kept, still pushing myself. And it didn't feel like anything, I say, out of the ordinary, but others were able to see it. And sometimes that's how it is. Others can see things in you that you can't necessarily see yourself,
right.
or 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 even in my case, when I realized what was really happening, that point of denial was still there. Like, God, I've been doing this, helping other people in this same situation. Like, I know about this, I know the symptoms of this, but it can't now, it just cannot be happening to me. So I was in that immediate state of denial. But God lets us know that again, none of us, is above, uh, uh, you know, having to, that we may have to suffer sometimes, and we may have to experience things of this nature, But again, but the most important thing is that God be glorified through it all.
Yes,
And
sir.
so I give him the glory, for keeping me. I give him the glory uh, for me going through this. Because in everything that we do, we just want to make sure that God is glorified. That we point, no matter what we go through, we point back to God and we point others to God. It's not about me. It's not anything that I done, but it is all about God. It's all about what He did, and He's still in the miracle working business today.
Yeah. I know sometimes when people get sick or they go through uh, a trauma or some type of drama, they spirit get kind of low. They ask God, getting to question God about, why me? Why this happened to me? What would be your response to if you would speak to somebody right now who's going through a terrible illness right now and you was in front of them, what would you tell them as they go through the situation?
Well, I would tell them, and to answer that first part of the question that comment you was making, we ask God, why me?
Yeah.
And I give you the answer that God gave me, and that answer is, why not you?
Mm,
Why not? We are to be His instrument. We are to be, that witness for Him. So why not me? Why not you? Why not someone else? But the encouraging part of that is I will again share with them to let them know that um, God, nothing is too big for God. So, regardless of what it is that you may be faced with, no matter what may have you traumatized, it matters not what man say about it, but God has the final word. And so, I would tell them, don't ever lose focus, don't ever lose sight of who God is. Don't ever forget how big God is. God is bigger than a heart attack. God is bigger, than diabetes. God is bigger than cancer. So don't ever lose focus and lose sight of how big our God is, because God is bigger than anything that we could ever face in life.
wow.
Yeah.
I minister to people sometimes, and sometimes I may come across people that's addicted to drugs, alcohol, and their life, they feel like the things that they're going through right now, that's it. And it's a tough situation to be in, but I'm so glad that you was able to come on and share your testimony because somebody need to hear this. Somebody need to hear that God is still alive and He's working on their behalf. That He's already going to work things out in their life. And I can't tell you how good I feel right now just to have you on, because this what we're doing right now, this podcast, is going to
Mhm.
help so many people. It really is.
And praise God for that. And again, we say, God, why, am I still here? It this could be the very reason to reach out to someone else, to help someone else, to be that encouragement for someone else.
Right.
I say this quite often, and I even shared it with my congregation on this past Sunday. I said, you hear me say a lot of times, that the apples that grow on the apple tree isn't necessarily for the apple tree,
Mm,
but it's the apples that give nourishment to others,
mm,
that may come in contact. That apple tree don't eat its own apples, but it gives nourishment to others, that may be in need of. And so sometimes our testimonies, it is, of course, number one, it is, we benefit from that, but God also uses our testimony to help someone else along the way, to give them, that sense of it's not over until God, says it over. So we have to, God gives us hope, and like Paul says, man, uh, when our hope is gone, what else do we have? There's nothing else to cling to. There's nothing else that we are to hold to. And so our testimonies, the life that we live in, it can help someone. It could restore that hope in someone, that may have been on the verge of giving up, someone who may have been on the verge, of giving in and throwing in the towel, but don't ever do that. Because even back to my situation and my surgery, I remember my cardiologist, they shared with me as well. They said when I first came in and they first examined me, they said they went into their own session, and they conferred with one another. And my cardiologist said that his team, looked at each other and just shook their heads. And
mm,
they said they did not even see how I was even yet alive. Even
wow.
when I reached the hospital, there's no way. He said uh, this is something that was not common. That uh, to see someone at the stage where I was still had life, and so that within itself made them realize, that there's got to be a higher power. There's got to be a God somewhere. That God is the one again who allowed those new arteries to grow just to keep you alive. And he
Mm,
said, but that's not common. You don't find that in everyone. Humans, what he described to me and showed me, he said, no, you were not born with that. These are new. This is new growth. And so God is a God who will give us new growth.
mm,
God is a God who will give us a new beginning.
right.
God is that God who we can lean on, we can depend on, we can trust in Him. And so I just want to be that encouragement, to share words, of encouragement, whatever it is, whoever is listening, whatever it is that you may be faced with, whatever it is that may have you traumatized, whatever it is, that may cause doubt in your mind.
Right.
Allow God to free your mind. Trust in Him and know that He is a healer. Know that God is a deliverer, and God is one who will not turn back on us. He will not, He promised His people that He would never leave, nor will He forsake them.
Yes,
And
sir.
so trust that God is a man that is not a man that who could lie. But know that God is a sovereign God.
Right.
God is a loving God, and He's full of grace and He's full of mercy. And so we ought to give our lives and dedicate our lives, unto Him. He is the true Creator,
Mm,
and we are His creation.
yes, sir.
Yeah,
That's awesome, Pastor.
yeah,
Well, we see so many different viral videos of different preachers and pastors, and they're basically not doing the right thing. This is a man of God who's doing what's right. He's a real preacher. He's a real man of God. And I wanted to have him on my podcast because I try to live real and be right my own self. So we want to be a witness to people and let the world know that God still lives. He's still performing miracles. He still is doing amazing things in people's lives today. And there's a
Absolutely.
lot of still real preachers that's here. That's real, that's honest, ain't about a paycheck, ain't about trying to get people to pay money. They just
Mhm.
want people's lives to be changed. There's a lot of us that's
Absolutely.
here.
Yes.
Pastor, you located down in Liberty Hill, South Carolina.
Yes, sir.
Like, can you tell like people where kind of where it's located at?
Yes, Liberty Hill is, if you're familiar with the Heath Springs area, we're south of Heath Springs. We approximately about 18 miles or so south of Heath Springs,
Mm,
and we are north of Camden, South Carolina. We are approximately 18 miles north of Camden. This is on Highway 97. Uh, we are right by, if you're familiar with Highway 97 and Lake Watery, um, down in Liberty Hill area. We are approximately a half a mile from the bridge there where you see Lake Watery on both sides of the road. So
yes,
we are coming out of Camden. We are half a mile past that bridge of Lake Watery. Uh, and we sits little church, small church that sits up on the hill about a half a mile past Lake Watery. And we love to have you. Well, we invite you to come to be a part of our worship service. We are in worship service every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. at 9 o'clock a.m. We love to have, and we take this time to extend an invitation. So if you don't have a church home, we invite you to come and be a part of our church home. And if you have a church home, we invite you to come whenever you are able to come and visit us. We would love to have you there.
awesome, Pastor. All right, we just got a few more minutes left. Anything else you want to say before we leave?
Well, again, I just want to say thank you, Reverend Gaither, for uh, giving me a call and inviting me to come on to be a part of your podcast. And we certainly hope that we said something on the show tonight that will give you encouragement, or those for your listeners, give them encouragement to know that again, there is nothing too hard for God. Take it from again a man who was dead according to
Mm,
man's standard for 45 minutes, but
yeah.
yet God resurrected me. And 13 years, again, we coming up on 13 years later, we
Mm,
still here, we
still, yeah.
still doing God's work, and we intend to continue to do God's work as long as He see fit to keep us here on this earth.
Yes, sir. That's
All
amazing.
right.
All right, Pastor, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. As always, it's always a pleasure to be able to speak with you. And
Likewise,
it's,
likewise, my
yeah,
brother. Yeah,
I enjoyed the conversation, the fellowship every time we get a chance to talk. So
likewise.
I thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, sir. You have a good day.
Thank you, and have a good night, sir. All
All
right,
right.
you have a good day. All right.
All right. Y'all continue to join in the Sky G Radio, your number one gospel radio station, and Unity Gospel Network as well.